Welcome to this episode of Your Property Business. This is the video podcasts that help you get the most out of your own property business. I'm delighted to be speaking to you today with Gabrielle Avramaica from ARI Studio. Let me tell you a bit about Gabrielle before we start. So Gabrielle studied for 8 years in industrial design that included graphic design, product design and interior design. And Gabrielle chose interior design as a specialism. And graduated, and having spent over 17 years of experience, has completed several projects, including all types of renovation projects, working on things like property developments, commercial to residential conversions, premium HMO conversions and serviced accommodation units, and all the time focused on increasing the GDV, so gross development value, and the rental value through space planning and interior design. So without further ado, I'm just going to bring Gabrielle onto screen and I'm going to say hello. Hi, Gabrielle, how are you?
Hello, Chris. Very good, thank you. Thanks.
Good. So we've just introduced you. I think you may have heard some of that. But can you spend a couple of moments just tell me a bit about yourself, what you do and how you've come to this point where we are today?
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Ever since I was a child, I had a passion for drawing, looking at buildings. The earliest memory I have, I was probably about 6 or something. I was driving my father. I was in the back of the car. He was driving, and then I was looking at the building. I said, I was asking him how I'm going to be able to draw that. Obviously, I'm not an architect today, but I'm still involved very much into the property field by doing interiors. So yeah. I had an eye for shapes and sources and myself. And then just by chance, I end up being in art school, and one of the sections there was interior design, industrial design. But I chose interior design eventually, which I love. And after that, going forward, I study and been involved in so many renovations projects, and I just love the process, like going to building with no walls or everything taken down. I just see potential. I just have to put it into 3D and explain to the customer how it's going to work. Every single day when I meet a customer, it doesn't matter if it's a project of an entry-level project, like high-end one. I only see customers being a bit overwhelmed by what's going to happen, and then I always put myself in their shoes, and so that's why I put together. I have this business the way it's set up, just to close all those gaps, and then now that I see there's so many places I can add value to this, and then having a passion for property. This is how I end up working on such projects.
It sounds like it's the path you've chosen fits nicely between kind of your passion about space design and creating something, and also putting that into the property field, property world, and just bridging that gap, I suppose. Thanks, Gabrielle. So tell me a bit about what you would describe interior design as. What's your definition of it?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a misconception about interior design. A lot of the times people think when they hear interior design, they think about soft furnishing, your sofa, your rugs, and everything else, wallpaper and so on. That's fine. That's still part of interior design, but it's further down the line. That's pretty much the last step in the process. So interior design is the art and science of understanding people's behavior to create functional spaces and aesthetically pleasing within a building.
Okay.
So it's functional spaces that are aesthetically pleasing. Exactly, that's the order. Interior design starts at the very early stage in the process when the layout of a building it's considered. So the interior design should affect the shape, the 2D layout, the 3D layout, and so on. So it's very technical before coming aesthetically pleasing. Let's put it this way.
Yeah. Okay. So So it's definitely about function, and maybe, like you say, less so about the soft furnishings, as we might describe them, later in
Function
the process.
function is the primary thing, is the first step in the process. When space planning, it is the first part. I look at this. Usually, we speak when we work with architects early on in the process. When, let's say, we design this product, this is the end result. So let's do it accordingly. So the first thing we do, we just moving walls accordingly within a building, or having the right layout. It has to flow right, and then you try not to. You look in 2D plans first, then you go to 3D, then you go technical, service drawings, plans, elevation, so on, and then towards the end you'll just cover, like what we said earlier, your cushions, sofas, because you're gonna fail if you don't cover this first. You can buy the best sofa on the market, best wallpaper, and so on. But if the place is a maze, and then you see obstacles all the time within it, and then it doesn't serve the end consumer, you're not going for success.
No, I understand. Have you got a sense, Keith, about what are the things that people do or don't do that that might lead them to be a design fail, or something that that could have been so much better? What sort of things do you see?
I see all the time
that could be better.
Yeah, I see all the time that this is being overlooked, and then is not given enough importance.
Okay.
Just because people have this misconception about interior design and say, okay, that's dressing up the room later on in the process. So when it comes to that point, depending on the size of the project and the complexity of it, if you leave it till the end, then it's not much you can do about it. Like with the space planning and 3D, it's already too late. So people tend to leave this at a very late stage in the process, which should be looked at the beginning of the process. So that's the main issue that I see a lot of times in big projects, or smaller ones as well. And then it's not much you can do. So people have to be educated and say, this is not interior design. It's just I should have been here a month ago, or 3 months ago, or at the early stage of the process, when you're working out your GDV, or you're working out who you're going to rent your SA unit, or how much. And by doing that, being involved in that stage, it can definitely help out. And then you can start follow this process, which has a few steps in a way. So we have to be involved a lot earlier in the process, and then we're not most of the times.
It was described to me a while ago. Then this is a description that kind of has resonated with me and stuck with me for a while. The process of buying a house is a long process. An investment property, for example, is a long process. So not least, first save for a deposit. That could take a lot of years. Then you've got to go and hunt for a property, and that could take 3, 6, 12 months to get the right one. And then you've got to sort of deal with the paperwork with a mortgage, and then you've got sign the legals and that kind of stuff. And at that point, you own this thing. And it might be that some people would say, cool, give it to letting agent, let the property, cool. At that point, there's no thought on design. So, and it's missing out on quite a lot of value that you could have added to that property because there's no thought process that's been put into it. And I love the idea that a little bit more effort, because that's a long process. That could have taken you 5 years to get to own that property. A little bit more effort might have made all the difference to your product and what you offer.
Yeah. I just to give an example, I see projects out there like let's say HMO conversions, and then it's not it's quite common for them. It's like when it was a full refurb. Take, let's say, a three bed property with two reception rooms, only going to convert it into a 6-bed HMO. And it's quite a large project, and they put quite a lot of money into it, and then not quite often 120K or up to 140 or so or more. So spending just a tiny bit, in this added value and this seeing the concept, it is such a small amount, and then you can raise everything, like how much this is going to achieve in GDV, how much you can rent for, who's your tenant going to be, because once you raise that standard, a lot of times you're going to have a better tenant, less voids, and so on. So it's such a small effort at the beginning. Planning is key. I think it's with all this project for you to achieve the most out of this property. And the beauty of it is you only have to do it once. You do it now at the beginning.
Yeah.
And you're going to have this property forever.
Putting some numbers on that, if you sort of say, it's a 6-bed HMO, and putting that bit of effort in at the right moment, if, for example, it gave you another £50 per room, which in itself doesn't seem too much, but £50, we'll call it 5 beds, £50 times 5 is £250 a month that goes straight to the bottom line, that is profit. Times it by 12 is £3,000 a year. Times it by 5 is 50, whatever, it's £15,000. So that's a small example of what the gain could be just by doing a little bit more thinking at the right time.
No, I can give you another example, because you can increase it by probably 80%, let's say. So I've seen properties where HMOs in an area that a room will rent out for $450 a month.
Okay, yeah, $450,
and then a nicely done, a premium HMO done in the same area, it will rent out at £750 to £800.
So the same size room, same location.
Yes.
Okay.
And then has been told that you're never going to get these figures.
Okay.
By the agents, and so on. And the problem is with the industry, you as a investor, maybe you go into a new area or you've not done it before. The industry is teaching you to call the agents, ask how much you can achieve. But they're only going to tell you what sort of comparables you have within that area.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to push the boundaries of your product, you have the vision for something. If you want to push for, let's say, a premium HMO, a luxury boutique style type hotel HMO, which would be proud to live in, you as a tenant. If there's nothing there on the market, it's like there's nothing to compare. And so how come you, as an agent, you can tell, okay, you can't achieve this figure? Obviously, it's nothing to compare with. So that's the issue. It's why somebody pays £1,500 for a phone where they can get one for £50. Why somebody pays £500,000 for a car, they can get just one for £10,000.
Yeah.
So you're trying to achieve a product which is not a push the boundaries. Probably not that much, but you can still achieve some really great. So not just £50. You can.
That's a much better example, and in truth, it sounds a much more realistic example, because £50 is neither here nor there. And I'm just sort of looking at our book of managed properties. The average property, if I created all of our rooms, put an average on it, it's around £550 a room, including bills. So not a massive number. But our highest rental room is £900. It is in an ensuite room, but it's not quite double, but it's almost double the average. So a fantastic increase on the return. So I think you're right. It's dangerous talking about averages, and probably wrong to talk about averages, because the truth is we don't really want to be average. You want to be the top 20%. Yeah.
Correct. And then this goes back to what I said earlier about increasing your GDV, because if you have a product like this, a premium HMO, which is achieving £800 a room instead of $450 or 500, 550, this obviously reflects back on your GDV, because once you have the valuation back, that obviously this is based on what's your rental income, commercial valuations at least. So this is purely added value through design.
And I guess go on. Yeah.
And then a lot of times you still get a lot of percentage back once you refinance. So it's not like you invested a lot more. Yes, you did, but once that product's finished, you're still gonna have it back, because it has a different value. If you expect it to have the end valuation gonna be around 450, but if you achieve 540, for example, because of it, you invest a bit more. So it's still happy days. Like it's a win-win situation no matter what.
There was another sort of angle on it as well. I was thinking was that you might consider, to get to where I want to get to in terms of income levels, I might need 4 properties fine, you might need 4 properties. That kind of means 4 deposits of whatever number. But actually, if you're achieving a higher return on investment, higher GDV, and higher values, rental value, property values, you might need 2, or you might, so the capital required is a lot less, and therefore a lot quicker to get to where you want to get to. Anyway, so I think we are on the same page, obviously, about it's a very good place to start thinking about how can I maximize my GDV, my rental values, through some well-placed conversations, some well-placed thought about space design and essentially function is what we're talking about here, I think.
Correct. Yes. And then it is to go for quality rather than volume. Because once you have volume, you're dealing with a different customer, different tenant, and so on, who's going to rent, and then you just want to differentiate yourself from the market, just to step up the bit, because the market is flooded with average type properties, and then
that's the same the world over, isn't it? Anything you look at, there will be an average by definition. And we're not looking to be average. I think the higher returns and the bigger benefits are on the outliers of average, i.e., better.
Correct. Yeah.
Smash it.
And also by doing this, you can build a brand. So let's say if you're building a portfolio and then you achieve a product which is great and it's outstanding, and then you have tenants that say, invited people over, say, "Oh, look at this! I never seen something like that." And then once you have like a trademark for yourself and you can just introduce some certain items which you resonate with, then you could go to the second one, the third one. Then people will come to you. They'll have tenants, let's say, put them on the list. Next time you're doing one, I want to be living in your properties. So it doesn't stop here. So you're trying to build something which you'll stand out for. Like it's part of you, and then it gives you a better return, better business, a better customer. It's not just aesthetically pleasing spaces, not that only.
Well, that's fantastic. So let's assume listeners and viewers have kind of grabbed hold of that concept and thinking, well, there's more to be had out of my investment. What are the sort of the stages, or the 5 or so stages or tips that you can give to listeners and viewers about the steps they might go through when thinking about maximizing through design?
Yeah. I'll say the most important step, also, depending on the size and the complexity of the project, this applies mainly to developments, commercial, residential projects, and also HMO conversions. So this step is space planning. Okay. So you're only going to be working in 2D. Either you're working with the architect if it's a larger scheme, more complex project, or I'll be working myself on 2D plans if it's an HMO or commercial to residential unit.
Yeah.
So you start with the end in mind. Who's going to buy these units? Who's going to rent them? So the end consumer in mind. And you start designing accordingly. And the design affects the internal configuration of a property, basically. So space planning will be the most important factor, especially in these types of strategies.
Okay.
Then we'll be moving on. The second, I would say, is working in 3D, which are the main areas in the house. Let's say designing your kitchen, designing your bathrooms, big volumes in a property, or where the bed is going to be, which size bed, which size sofa, sitting for how many, and so on. Yeah. So you, in a way, you go from big to small. You have the property, you have the units, you have each room, and then you go to smaller items, your 3 dimensions. Let's say in a kitchen, you're going to have 3 tall units or 2, if that serves the customer or not, and which way. And then this will give you your flow in the property, and then how you're going to function, how you're going to move from one place to the other, and so on. And this leads to the third aspect, which is going to all the technicalities of everything, how everything works, and then your plans, your elevations, and service drawings. So it becomes very critical at that point, because now you decided to say you have this kitchen, but the building thing needs to know where everything goes, your plumbing, electrics, sockets, and so on. Depending on your sofa going to have or where it's going to be positioned, you have the exact size for the sofa, and then you want to make sure that your sockets, they're not behind the sofa, and then the right place for you to use it.
Right. Okay.
So these sort of things. You're going to have a bedside table. Where's that going to be positioned? At which height? Are you going to be able to plug in your charger right away, or you're going to have to go an awkward position to do that? So this is very practical at that point. Having that agreed, I'll leave you to specification. So, and also give you an indication. You can cost at that point. You can, I'll say, we having this kitchen in this finish, this flooring, these bathrooms, and so on. So early on in the process, you can cost everything. So there's no room, there's no ifs, and then you start looking around, ask for quotations on later on in the process, and then trying to minimize all the unknowns, all the questions early on in the process. So it's quite clear what they're going to have, how it's going to look, how much it's going to cost, and then how you're going to implement it. And the fifth one I would say is when it comes to more cosmetic renovations, is like a single let or a service accommodation unit, which you're not going to move walls. You have the kitchen in place, you have the bathrooms and so on. There's still so many things to do. We can increase how much you can rent, how much you can sell. They're within the same bracket of pricing. You can put together a mood board which is going to have an impact to who is going to buy and rent.
Okay.
It's such a small difference in price from painting the wall white to a really nice color. It's the same thing applies to, let's say, do a feature wall for wallpaper, or do some really interesting, have an interesting media wall, or just a wall unit. This will definitely stand out from the mass majority of the products you see out there. And so this goes back on you saving time, renting that property a lot faster, instead of you waiting, let's say, 3 weeks to rent. You can rent. You can have a queue of potential tenants in the first week. So as we know, it's time is money. So it's the speed, how you're going to rent out, having less voids, and then you potentially charging more for that unit.
There's so many, yeah.
So I'll say these are the main 5 points, like going from big to small is 2D, 3D, technical drawings, specification, and then all these finished items.
So a couple of that's a fantastic sort of flow of how that process might work. What's springing to mind is, at what stage is the right time to pick up the phone to you? Is it I'm thinking of Gabriel, I'm thinking of buying a property. Can I show you this on Rightmove? What do you think? Or is it, I've bought this property and, what do I do with it? Or maybe you should have an idea before you buy it, the truth, but let's go. Or is it later than that? Which kind of stage works for you best?
Depends on the type of project, I would say.
Yeah.
If you're looking at a larger project, let's say a development, and then obviously you might only have the land, or there's a property there which you're going to take down and then build 4 houses on that plot. So as soon as you agree the sales, and then you have some drawings which you submitted anyway to planning, we can start drawing them. So we can work with those.
Okay.
So we'll have the drawings from the architect, the DWG drawings, will import in our software. We'll build the house, and then start working with design early on in the process. So that you're trying to save time and not to be rushed at one point. Okay, we have to do this, we have to do it, because the building already started. So before you actually start the build, you want to make sure that it's all agreed. You have costing for everything, so it's clear. So it's all included in the cost. There's no ifs, and there's no surprises. in the process. 'Cause you're going to have surprises anyway, but you're trying to minimize this early as possible. Now, if you're talking to, if you're discussing an HMO which is not as complex, as soon as you secure the property, and then you'll have a survey done on it on the architect. As soon as you have those drawings, again we can start on that as early as possible. It is a similar concept. We have also these drawings from the architect. We can work on that because you might have to submit planning, or you might have to take the building control and so on. But speed is crucial, because once you got the property, you secured it. You want to move on with this as soon as possible. A lot of the projects, like they're using bridging finance also. So this goes back to you saving costs, because if you're doing this as early as possible, obviously if you save, let's say, 2 months or 1 month, whatever it might be, you don't have to pay that interest on that loan that you to renovate the property. In a smaller projects, like it's just cosmetic stuff, is just a single let or a say unit. As soon as you have access to the property, even going there with the agent, that'll be enough for you to take exact measurements. Because the drawings that I get from estate agents, they're not as accurate as I like to be. So I have to take my own measurements. Because you might have items that are quite a bit bespoke, but I say they have to be centimeter exact. You need to have height of the rooms and so on, position of the window, and so on. So I'm quite precise with this, but usually you'll have access, we'll arrange access with the estate agent, and I can spend half an hour, 1 hour there, whatever it might be. And
I think yeah,
you'll have a clear understanding what you're looking at, and then by the time you complete, and then we'll have a good understanding what you're going for.
I think that's a really good answer. I mean, the sense I was getting there was it's certainly the more complex the problem, the earlier you need to be involved, and maybe the more decisions you have to make, the earlier you need to be involved. So maybe, like you say, for an SA unit or a single let, maybe later is fine. Mid, HMOs or commercial to resi, earlier is better, and full scale development right at the start feels to me.
Exactly.
I've had conversations with sort of various HMO landlords, and the desire is to increase the return on investment and the rental value that property can yield. And it's tempting to think, well, the more bedrooms I get in here, maybe up to the 6 maximum before you need planning permission. Well, I want to get as many as I can, please. Can I get 6 bedrooms in here? And you think, well, yeah, maybe you could. But I quite like having a conversation that says, well, how about you drop a room, go for 5, but make it better, and make up all of that lost income from that bedroom and more from a better product. And I've got some investors that do both. It's the truth. No, I want 6. And somebody says, no, I'm happy with 5, because or 4 even, because the house works better, it functions better. Have you got some examples of that, or does that resonate with you?
It goes back to quality, less quality over volume. I mean, if you want to go long term and then achieve something which you'll be proud of. So the way I see it is, obviously, a lot of most of us we do this to get some returns, right?
Yeah.
But I would be happy, and then if I produce a product which is outstanding, is great. By the end of it, okay, look at what this was and what we did with it. I want to be proud of me to say this is my property, rather than just a standard room with a bed in it and bedside cabinet. That's it. So definitely that's a great example, because this is what I'm trying to educate people. You don't have to go for 6 to have. You don't want to have these tiny rooms, feel claustrophobic. And then I've seen so many examples. You go into en suite, and then it's hardly room for anything. So you can definitely achieve the same kind of returns with 5 decent sized rooms, rather than go for 6, which are like
and
the very
presumably the conversion costs in a lot of those examples are less anyway, so you don't need to convert to such a high degree. So you're saving money and you're getting a high, yeah.
right. Yeah, that it's exactly that, because it's you don't have to spend as much, but you're going for a higher demographic tenant anyway. A lot of times you have less voids because people, once if they decide to leave, they say like there's not much out there similar to your product. So in a way they like it. Obviously, you have to provide a service which goes with the type of property as well. So it's the aftercare as well. But it's quality that I should go for, and then all the time. Quality always wins. I think nobody regretted buying quality. So that's
no, indeed, no, and there might be a different price tag on it, but yeah, like you say, your price. I think I get asked a question. I'm sure you do too. What should I do? What's the right answer? You can't really answer that question, because what do you want? What do you want to do? What sits comfortably with you as the landlord or the investor? What sits comfortably with you? And I think some landlords are comfortable with it, with a different product or different quality, but some landlords are not, and in some eyes might overspend or whatever. But I think there's quite a personal thing to answer. What do I want to achieve? Am I happy with that product? I think that's quite, once you've answered that, that's the benchmark for making most decisions, I think.
Yeah, obviously what I do is not for everyone, and then you have different opinions from different landlords. Some that just that's why we're all different, some that's why you have some premium developers and then large scale developers which they go for numbers. So this is definitely not for them. And then you have landlords which that just do their average standard rooms, and then they're happy with it. They just go for volume. But I just want to work with people which they appreciate quality.
Yeah,
so be proud of this product.
From a purely selfish perspective, working with someone like yourself makes my job as letting houses, renting houses, so much easier. So it's quite an easy thing for me to endorse you and your services, etc., to people, because you better products, stand out for the market. Everyone's life becomes easier. Right. So just to sort of start thinking about what's the next step. So we've got listeners and viewers who are thinking, okay, I get this, I get high returns. Maybe I haven't got the confidence to do it myself. Maybe a conversation with Gabrielle is something I need to start. What would you recommend people do? How do they get in contact with you, and what would you recommend someone's next steps would be?
Yeah, so reach out. Initially, we'll have a chat regarding what they're trying to achieve, what's the end result, what's the end in mind. So reach out either on my email or just can call me. So we're trying to understand from the very beginning what they want to achieve, what's the end result, why they're doing this initially, why they in the property, and then once I understand what they're trying to achieve now with this project, or maybe 5 years from now, we try to put together something like a plan together. Because if someone is just starting, but this is the first HMO conversion, but they want to have a portfolio of 20 in 5 years, it's a different approach. So we're trying to build a brand. The same with the developer. This is not the only one they're going to do, probably. So we go from there. So we want to see the big picture. So having that in mind, we want to be the team in-house which guides us through this process. Okay, so this is the first step, this process. We start working on this, see how it feels, see how it works for you. But always have in mind the next one and the one after, and so on. So if we aiming for this is just the first step. So one is for us to be to give advice throughout, and then to be the one point of contact when it comes to planning and then designing and so on, and then just to give them that clarity in a way. And eventually this is we're going to implement this into our own projects, so it's just a matter of time.
Well, it sounds like you've got so much to offer. I think I'm sure you're going to be in demand. So thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us. So I think that's probably us, I think. Just talk to me very briefly about what the next 2 or 3 years might look like for you. So you've also got all this experience. You've got clearly loads of passion for the design and just helping the right client, I think, through some things. Where do you see yourself in like 3 to 5 years and your business, and where do you want to get to?
So I would say this at the moment we want to work with with those property investors which they're looking for our product, which is quality and service, and making sure that they understand what it can bring to the table, which I think, from my point of view, I think is added value early on in the process, and then taking risks away, and then planning, as I always say, it's key to a successful project. So this is the first stage, as us working all types of projects, developments, commercial, residential, HMOs, and SA units. And next year is going to be the launch of our projects as well. Yeah, so looking to have our premium materials on the market, commercial, residential, really keen on that one as well. A lot of times you have like a blank canvas to work with, office buildings, and also they can do so much with it. There's so much potential there. And then moving forward, potentially at one point we're going to go into developments, 5 years or so.
Well, that's you got some big plans there. So, Gabriel, thank you for spending the time with us today. I wish you all the best in your endeavours, and I'm really looking forward to recommending you and your company to our landlords, and wishing you all the best on your journey. So, thank you very much. And
thanks so much, Chris.
You're welcome, Gabriel.
And then it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm just going to wrap up here. So, thank you for watching Your Property Business. And if you're getting value from this interview and these shows, please show your appreciation by hitting the subscribe button or following the podcast. My name is Chris Jones, and this has been another episode of Your Property Business. And see you next time.
See you. Bye-bye.